So Module 4 is about sustaining the YWCA. So building a strong YWCA organization has been at the center of the association's strategy in the past years in strengthening the movement's management structures in both local, national, and global. So in this module, we will learn how the YWCA resources sustain its work and scope. So the YWCA National Office actually mobilizes committees for getting work done. So different committees are created throughout the appointment of their national members and their members by the National Council. So members actually usually have a 2-year term. And some committees are actually formally organized while others are organized informally to serve for a short period, such as, for example, there is a project that needs to be done. So a committee can be organized in such a short period of time. Also, committees conduct regular meetings either face-to-face or via online platform to make sure that the programs and activity plans are being implemented and monitored regularly. Now, committees can be among the most important working forces of an organization. So they serve as work units rather, of the organization, taking work, and they efficiently carry out the work of the organization. Now, you might probably ask, what are the importance of committees in the YWCA and YWCA of the Philippines? So first, it serves as an instrument in safeguarding the democratic ideals of the YWCA. Second is it gives life and meaning to the purpose of the YWCA through concerted efforts of many responsible women and girls serving in advocacy activities through committee work. And the members are usually composed of volunteers from different local associations of YWCA in the country. Thirdly, of course, involving committee works also mean training of new breed of leaders, both young and young at heart, or adult volunteer members. And lastly, it's also an opportunity to help members understand and appreciate one another during discussion and actual involvement in program and projects. Now, volunteers and members will be given numerous opportunities to improve themselves while working in the committees. Also, of course, our committees serve as the backbone of the organization, linking volunteers and staff together to do special tasks, making them participate in the work of Y, gain first-hand knowledge of its assets, liabilities, and problems, do special contribution to a worldwide movement, develop as potential leaders, and become instrumental to the attainment of the vision, mission, and goals of the YWCA. Committees also function as a functioning group that play core functions, particularly the standing committees and subcommittees. They are tasked to formulate, recommend policies, and implement programs and projects. They also represent the YWCA to the communities they serve, and they support the surfacing core issues and, lastly, strengthen the advocacy for girls' and women's rights. Now, we are inspired by the scripture reading taken from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 14, in motivating volunteers for committee work. It says, "For the body itself is not made up of one part, but of many parts." So in YWCA, this means that working together as a team facilitates ideas and creativity, which is very natural among our volunteers, both young women and adult volunteers. Now, how can we encourage our volunteers? So in its simplest sense, encouragement gives support, confidence, and hope to everyone. Now, in the YWCA, there are many ways to encourage volunteers. First is we must learn to listen by heart on the ideas of people we work with. This will encourage them to work better. Next, we can also give incentives that can create a culture of positive motivation to increase productivity and performance. We must also be a coach to volunteers and establish appreciation and accomplishment. We must also promote camaraderie that cultivates trust. So communication will also improve volunteers and members' relationships. So that is why it's very important for us to treat each other as our safe spaces in order for us to communicate well with each other. We should also encourage people to share their ideas and discussion of topics that are relevant to the YWCA. So regardless of what that suggestion that might be, we must not be afraid to speak our voices because this is relevant of whatever it may be to the success of the association. We must also set goals to provide a better understanding of expectations. And of course, we must get rid of unnecessary routines that contributes in slowing down progress and improvement of group work. It is also very important that we develop a meaningful purpose in every activity that will excite members to participate more and will inspire them to continue supporting the association with its activities. But of course, we must not forget to discipline fairly to learn respect to authority. It's also very important, regardless of what our age might be, to be a mentor to develop trust and strengthen the hope and support. And during difficult situations, we must not forget to be a confidant and learn to keep secrets to establish trust and nurture bond between members. So this is a remarkable character of a true leader. And lastly, we must be genuine in recognizing achievements, whether it may be big or small, with positive feedbacks. So your good work or you saying you did a great job can actually go a long way. Moreover, you can also award different achievements whenever accomplishments is being done and a strong commitment, there is a strong commitment of members. We must also be sensitive to the feelings of other people to help establish respect. People like it when you care about them and you are considerate about their feelings. And here in YWCA, we should continuously inspire people that will motivate them to continue to do better in achieving their personal and group goals. We can also offer challenge to cultivate sportsmanship, gratitude, and compassion. Challenges are there to remind us to really clarify what is it we truly want in life. But it's really not all about work. It's not really about volunteering because we must also foster a fun work environment that can make people more productive, creative, and engaged. It's also important to recognize what's important to your team to be able to focus and improve on it. And as a leader, as a young woman leader also, you must be friendly because as someone that people look up to, this is a good trait to engage more volunteers to join actively participation. We must also invest in people by providing opportunities for them to grow as a person through seminars, trainings, webinars, and internship programs. We must also be, as much as possible, be optimistic because we really appreciate people who have this kind of mind setting because it creates positive moods and morale for better relationships. Also, creating satisfaction includes regularly gathering of feedbacks to help the organization to make strategic changes on the programs and service. And lastly, and most importantly for me, is to be sincere from the heart, because being a genuine person can help you deal with people better. Now, here are also some important tips to remember and a few things to avoid in working with volunteers. Uh, Assuming to have control, not listening to the suggestions and insights of volunteers, especially if you think someone is not capable of giving out suggestions, taking control without earning it, indifference. Such as, for example, someone is already going through so much, and yet here you are, probably demanding more work from them. So that is one thing that we should also avoid. Pessimism, insincerity, hoarding incentives, unfair punishment, being loud, having no discipline, always complaining about the work that you do, taking the team for granted, stifling creativity, passing the buck, sticking to status quo, because here in YWC we constantly try to look for pressing issues that we wanted to solve. So sticking to the status quo is really one thing to avoid. Ignoring wishes of team members, for example, in taking breaks if you've done so much already. Sticking to routines, not communicating clearly, not having any goals, being too self-righteous, ignoring the big picture, discouraging other people, revealing their secrets, and pretending to be busy even though you're not. Now, what are the sources of the YWCA policies? So there are actually three policy sources. So these are the Philippine Constitution, the law of the country, and the executive committee here in the association itself. Now, in drafting the YWCA Local Association Constitution, these parts should be considered. Name, affiliation with the YWCA of the Philippines, aim or purpose, function, affiliation of the local associations, membership requirements, legislative meeting, then of course the name of the officers, executive committees and subcommittees, finance and property, amendments to the constitution, procedures for dissolution and disposition of its resources. Now, the national office is always ready to provide more information and assistance when needed. So if you want to know more about the different parts of our local association's constitution, you can just go ahead and ask our national staff. Now, local association management regarding bylaws. So the rights and obligations of the local associations. So of course, let's start with the rights of LAs. So first, it is to be represented through the National Council by the World YWCA in the UN Commission or any other international meetings or convention. It is also the right of a local association to be represented by the National Council at national or international meetings or conventions. Of course, in line with that right, the local associations also have their own obligations, such as first, to help the national association achieve its purpose as a national movement. Next is to embody in the local association bylaws the articles of incorporation and bylaws of the YWCA of the Philippines Incorporated. Moving forward, let's also discuss our other rights as a part of a local association. So it is an LA's right to recommend policies and programs to the National Association and to attend in leadership training conferences and conventions, both possibly in your own LA or in the national level. Next is to propose amendments to the National Association's Article of Incorporation and bylaws and to vote on those at proper meetings. Now, alongside that right is also the obligation to contribute financial support of the National Association through membership and other dues, and to report and update the National Association current works and developments in accordance with the annual program plan submitted to the National Council. Lastly, of course, as a local association, it is your right to inspect the records and books of accounts of the National Council. So the books and accounts of the National Council are always open whenever a local association asks for records. Next is, of course, to receive communications and publications from the National Association, whether this may be an announcement of an upcoming activity or seminars or trainings, or simply a publication from the National Association. And lastly is to be informed of development and activities of the World YWCA, if there are any. Now, these are the reportorial requirements. First is submission of elected officers and board of directors as stipulated in the local YWCA bylaws. Second, submission of constitutions by bylaws patterned after the national YWCA bylaws. Third, submission of roster of members or directory, you would say, and corresponding affiliation fee payment annually. Now, the calendar year is the same as January to December, deadline December 31st of every year. Fifth, payment of affiliation fees and roster of paid up members, including addresses. Now, our fees are as follows: 200 pesos for adult member and 100 pesos for youth member. Other financial obligations includes local association annual fee, which is 250 pesos per local association. Affiliation fee, 2,500 per affiliated local association. So this is one-time payment only. So once you're in a local association already, you don't need to pay this one. A love gift or resource sharing, any amount if the need arises. Sixth is annual accomplishment report. So this is submitted every January and is provided by the national staff, the forms that needs to be filled out. Seventh is local association profile. So this is every 4 years. So forms are also to be provided. 8, quarterly performance report, of course, every quarter, and the same as the previous 3 reports, the forms will be provided by the national staff. The 9th is annual financial report, and 10th are other reports as may be required from time to time. Now, what is the legal mandate of the YWCA of the Philippines? So, YWCA of the Philippines is registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission as a non-stock, non-government organization. Also, the programs and activities is accredited by the Department of Social Welfare and Development. And we partner with other organizations like Young Men's Christian Association, YMCA, Girl Scout of the Philippines, GSP, Boy Scout of the Philippines, BSP, National Council of Women of the Philippines, NCWP, Renewable Energy, Coalition, PhilCADSA, Federation of Asia Pacific Women's Association, or FAWA Philippines, and all our local associations partner with the Department of Education, CSWDO, and other entities. So that is it for the Sustaining the YWCA. Thank you very much.